Welcome, everyone, to the Better Love Movement podcast, where you will finally learn how to intentionally do dating and relationships right. My name is Anita Stoudemire, and I'm a licensed professional therapist and your personal love mentor. I've worked with thousands of singles and couples, giving them the skills needed to attract and keep the amazing love they desire. It's my heart's work to help people to get the skills needed to not only become the very best versions of themselves, but to help them grow and evolve emotionally and relationally. You can absolutely have the romantic relationship of your dreams. Come and let me show you how. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the Better Love Movement podcast. So, after taking a 6-week hiatus, I am back and more energized than ever. I needed to take that break so that I could take care of some housekeeping here at my house and with my children and everything that I have to do, but also just to get refocused and re-energized. And this was a 6-week break that I desperately needed. So I am so happy to be back. So happy to be back on the podcast with you all, bringing you new content, bringing you new information. I have some really, really great topics over the next few weeks. I have some really great guests over the next few weeks. So I am super excited about the next few months and some of the things that we are going to talk about. So stay with me. I am going to kind of reintroduce myself today. For those who are new to the Better Love Movement podcast, my name is Anita Stoudemire. I am a licensed professional therapist. I have a private practice here in Richmond, Virginia, where I am located. I am also an online dating and relationship coach, an author, a speaker, a content creator. I create courses, but I am most passionate about helping women fall back into their femininity and helping men and women to have happy, healthy relationships again. That is something that I believe the world desperately needs. We need happy, healthy relationships, happy, healthy marriages, just happy, healthy people. There are just too many broken people in the world. And I'm hoping that the work that I do is helping to make a difference. Even when I help one person or one couple, it is so satisfying. It is so satisfying, the work that I do. And so I'm just so grateful to have you here with me. I thank you for listening to the podcast. I thank you for subscribing to the YouTube channel or following me on Instagram over at Better Love Movement or liking the Facebook page on Facebook at Better Love Movement. I thank you so much and appreciate each and every one of you. So this week, we are talking about a subject that I did an IG Live video on, and I wanted to do a podcast episode on this because I cannot believe I have not talked about this prior to now. So I am going to unpack something that I talk to a lot of single women about. Women who are single moms, women who've been married and are now divorced and looking to get back out there. Women of all ages, women of all races, women of all socioeconomic classes. I talk a lot about this subject, and I cannot believe I have not done a podcast episode on it as of yet. So that's what we're talking about this week. We are in episode number 123. It is entitled The Pros and Cons of Dating a Man with Children. Wow. So how did this conversation come to be over on IG Live? Well, in the manosphere, there has been lots and lots of talk in the last few months about the low value of single mothers and women who, have children. We've been hearing this a lot lately, that women who have children or single mothers are lower value than women who don't. And so I've been talking about this subject quite a bit with a variety of folks, and I said to myself, okay, well, what about single dads? What about the single dads out there? the men who have children and they're not currently in a relationship or they're not married and they have children, can we have that conversation? So that's what I want to do today. I want to have that conversation with you ladies. And I want to break down for you what I believe are some of the pros and cons of dating a man with children. And we're going to go into some of the caveats, some of the nuances, because there are so many different caveats and nuances about this subject, as it is with women who also have children. There are so many little nooks and crannies that we're going to try to get into and go into. If you're listening to this on YouTube, please, please, please like and subscribe to the channel, and please leave a comment about your thoughts about what I'm sharing today about the pros and cons of dating men with children. All right, let's break this down. So, some of the pros. What are some of the pros of dating a man with children? Well, I myself, as a woman who has been married and who had 3 children in that marriage and am now divorced, I only date men who are fathers. Like that's one of my standards. That's one of the things that I look for, is I look for a man who has children. And what I believe that tells me about him, that tells me a lot about him. One, it lets me know, how involved, I always find out how involved he is with those children. I find out how many children he has. I find out how old those children are. I find out if he was married to their mother. I find out if those children are by multiple women. So those are a lot of different things, a lot of caveats and nuances that you need to flesh out. You need to have that conversation. And yes, I think every single one of those things matter. But for me personally, I prefer a man who has children. I prefer a man who's a father. I prefer a man who's been married before and perhaps is now divorced, and in that marriage, he had a child or he had children. I prefer that he be actively involved in his children's life and that he is financially responsible for his children. So he is actively parenting and seeing them, visiting with them. He is financially responsible for them. I believe that tells me a lot about him, and it tells me a lot about his character. So what I believe the pros are, if a man is actively involved in his children's lives, if he is an active dad, if he is actively parenting his children, and if he is financially responsible. I think that tells me so much about his character. And remember, character is important. It's really, really important that the man that we're interacting with, that we're engaging with, has good, high moral character. And so I know for me, being a mother, having children has changed me like entirely. I'm an entirely different person now than I was before I had my children. They have instilled in me a lot of new values. They have instilled in me a persistence. They've instilled in me patience. They have instilled in me sacrifice and being able to delay gratification. They have instilled in me the ability to stick to something and just, be consistent and persistent in doing something day after day, month after month, year after year. They have taught me so much about myself and helped me to grow. And so when I'm thinking about that as far as myself, I'm saying, well, then that's got to be true for a single dad. Like, he's making sacrifices and he's learning and growing and he's delaying his gratification. He is a stand-up guy. He's going to put his life on the line for something or someone. His devotion, right? That's a wonderful quality, that he can be so devoted to something. And that's amazing. I think that's an amazing pro of dating a man with children. And so I believe that, again, as long as those guidelines are being met, that he is actively involved in his children's life, he's financially responsible with his children, he is actively parenting his children, I think that does speak to his character. That's going to speak to the man that he is, and that's a great thing. What I want you as a feminine woman to determine is, okay, let's say you don't have any children and it is totally your preference or your standard if you do not want to date a man with children. I get it. I was in that same situation before I got married. I had dated a man with a child when I was maybe 22, and we lived together and we were raising that child. And then the mother came back and took the child back, and I was crushed. I said, never again will I date a man who has children. And I had no children. And that's exactly what I did. I did not date men who had children, and I married a man who did not have children. And we had 3 children together. So if you're a single woman, I totally get it. I totally get it, and I understand it, and I believe that's a standard that you should set for yourself, because it changes the game. It really, really does. It changes the game, and I'm going to talk a little more about that on the con side of how the game changes when you're a single woman and you don't have children and you're attempting to date a man who has children, and especially if he is involved in those children's lives, if he is visiting them, they are visiting him, or he is financially responsible. There are going to be some downsides to that. So really, really think carefully about that. But I get it. I get it. If you are a single woman, you've never had any children, and you strongly prefer to be with a man that has no children. Okay, that pool of applicants may go down, it may get smaller. I believe it's possible to find a man who also has no children, but that pool of applicants is just going to get a little smaller, especially the older that you get. But honestly, I know men my age. I know 53-year-old men who do not have any children. They did not have any children. So, hey, it's a thing. There are some men out here that, 40s, 50-year-olds, and they don't have any children. So it's possible. So yes, if that's your standard, I want you to set and keep your standard, and do not make exceptions. Sometimes we make exceptions based on, oh, he's so cute, he's so fine, or we have a connection, or he has this job, or he has this money, or he drives this car, or whatever your thing is about him. If you truly don't want a man that has children, I want you to set that standard and keep it set. Because again, if that's how you really feel, but you make exceptions for a man that has children, trust me, eventually, whatever that was that attracted you to him, yeah, it's going to wear off, and then it's going to become a glaring, oh my gosh, this guy has 2 kids, so don't do that. Don't do that. You have to be mature enough and know yourself well enough to say, no, I don't think, I want to deal with a man who has children, and just stick to that. And if you believe that you can meet the man of your dreams and he not have children, trust me, all that's necessary is that you believe it. And just like I did at 30, it will happen. You'll meet a man that has no children, and you all will fall in love and get married and have your own family. So if that's what you really, really want, I don't want you to settle for anything less than that. All right, but one of the biggest pros, as I stated, is that I believe it adds to a man's good character. I believe that it tells me something about him in terms of, his ability to sacrifice, and that could be financially, that could be time-wise, his ability to love unconditionally, his ability to delay gratification. I think all those things must happen when you have a child. It's not just you. His ability to be selfless. All of those things are really, really great qualities. And, he's had to do it for someone else. He's had to do it for a child. And so that has, I believe, added to his good character. That's a huge pro of dating a man that has children. But remember, you are going to get all the details around him having children. Okay, let's go here. This is, to me, a con. This is one of the cons of dating a man that has children. So most women are going to say, well, the con is the child's mother. And I'm going to challenge that a little and say it greatly depends on the relationship they had, how the relationship ended, right? And if she has moved on, if she's in a new relationship, if she's married, it's going to greatly depend on a lot of different things. It'll greatly depend on the age of the child. As I have been telling women forever, if you meet a man and he has a 6-month-old baby, don't date him. That's a really, really bad idea. That's a sticky situation waiting to happen. And that that's that situation is too fresh. It's too fresh for the both of them. It's too fresh for the child and everyone else involved. And for you to kind of come in and be this new person, and this woman has just had a baby by this man. And even if they broke up during the pregnancy, I mean, it's just a sticky situation that you're asking for trouble. The younger the child is, the harder it may be. So you want to make sure they're done with each other. You want to make sure the mother has moved on. She has someone new. She's married again. You want to find out as much about that situation as you can. But a lot of women would say that's the biggest con, is the child's mother. But I will also say this. If a man has multiple children, and let's say a man has multiple children with multiple women, in my book, that's a no-no. That's not something I would want to deal with. Let me unpack this and tell you why. Okay? So I've had lots of different situations where I have met men in my dating journey. And there's one in particular where I met a man. This was maybe 5 or 6 years ago. I met a man, and maybe within the first month of dating him, I found out that he had 5 children. And every one of those children had a different mother. And those children ranged in age from 19 or 20 years old was the oldest, and the youngest was 4 years old. And that was an easy situation to walk away from. Thankfully, I mean, nothing had really occurred between he and I other than we went on several dates. We had some fun dates and we had some fun outings, and, we hung out and we talked on the phone. That's pretty much all that happened. And about a month in, I find out, because slowly, he told me on the first date that he was a single dad. And as, the dates went on, I slowly found out, oh, I have a son, I have 2 sons, I have 2 daughters. It kind of slowly started trickling out. And eventually, we had a very honest conversation, and I said, tell me about each of your children. Tell me about their mothers, just tell me. And that's when I found out each of his children had different mothers. So that was an easy situation to walk away from. Why? Why would I walk away from that? Okay, some people might think that's an obvious thing, but let me break it down for you. And let me tell you what's going on inside of my mind as I'm, hearing this information. So in 20 years, so in 20 years, he had 5 children. He had, 5 children with 5 different women. That tells me that he at least, had sex with 5 women, right? And I'm sure he had sex with more women than that. But the fact of the matter is he had sex with 5 women. He had sex with 5 women unprotected, okay? And I wasn't in the bed with them, so I don't know if maybe he used a condom and the condom came off. I don't know if the woman was on some form of birth control and it failed her. But something didn't prevent pregnancy. And that happened 5 times. And one of the things that I even expressed to him in the conversation, and he asked me, what are you thinking right now? And I was honest with him, because at that point, I didn't have anything to lose. This wasn't going anywhere. It wasn't going any further. And I said, okay, I'm going to be kind, but I'm going to be honest. And maybe, this is a conversation that he and I will walk away from, and we will have both learned something. But I said, well, don't get me wrong, this isn't a judgment of you or of what you've done in your life, because we've all made mistakes. However, you've made this same mistake 5 times. So that to me says it isn't a mistake. It's a habit. It's something that you continue to do or take chances with, and you continue to come up short every single time. Whatever birth control you're using isn't working for you. And that says something about you. And he was like, well, what does that say? I said, well, either you're not very smart, or you're not very sexually disciplined, or, you want to have all these children with these different women. Yeah, my head was kind of spinning at that point because, again, we've all made our mistakes. We've all done things we wished we hadn't. But something as serious as that, like having a child, bringing another human being into the world that's going to be here on the planet until you or they die, like that's a serious thing. That's what I call a life-altering mistake, right? And I believe, a lot of us have made life-altering mistakes, things that we've done that are going to alter the course of our life forever. And having a child is one of those things. And that's a pretty serious thing. So you would think, oops, I made a mistake. I was having fun with this woman, or maybe she and I were in a relationship and she got pregnant, right? That's a serious, consequence. And he wasn't married to any of these women. So let me add that. He was not married to any. He had never been married. And, I said, and I get it. We've all been there. We've all made some sort of life-altering mistake, or, something that's followed us for a long time. I said, but you continue to do this over and over and over. And I'll be honest with you, I don't respect that. I cannot respect a man who continues to make the same mistake over and over and over. I can't have a man like that on my team, or I can't even be on his team, because that's not a good leader. Like I can't submit to a man like that. I can't be led by a man who, one, is not sexually disciplined, and two, didn't learn the first, second, third, or fourth time. That behavior tells me that, yeah, I'm willing to make the same quote unquote mistake over and over and over and over and over before I learn. Like, dude, you need a vasectomy. And I told him that. I said, I'm going to be honest with you. He's like, oh, well, I'd like to get married one day. I'd like to have more kids. No, you're done. You're good. You're good. I don't know who would do that with you. And you have all these other children. Like, you're good. You're a father, so this idea of, oh, I'm going to meet the woman of my dreams and we're going to have a family together. I'm like, no, you're a father already 5 times over. And, I was just honest with him. I don't respect it. I can't submit to it. There's just too much here that screams, this person is not a good leader. This person is not a good, healthy, masculine leader. And I absolutely need that in order to submit. And it's easy for me to submit to healthy masculine leadership. But that behavior does not speak to that. It speaks to man-child behavior. It speaks to, I want to be sexually gratified. It speaks to, I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer. I'm not very bright, because I keep doing the same thing over and over, getting the same, result, which Einstein says is insanity. Like, no, that can't be my leader. So I immediately am like, no, that can't be my leader, because no, you've made this mistake over and over and over. And that's one of the reasons why I do tell women, I do want you to be careful about a man who has multiple children with multiple different women, because it runs deeper than just what you see on the surface. There's a character thing going on here. There's a lack of self-discipline. There's, I'm not the sharpest guy out there. I'm struggling to make good choices. I'm struggling to learn from my, bad choices. No, that doesn't speak to healthy leadership. And I do believe a man should provide healthy leadership. That's how you submit, is you trust, and you're a willing participant in this submission thing because you trust him, you respect him. And that behavior is not behavior that I can respect. So, ladies, please be cautious of the man that has multiple children. And can I be honest? If you're dating him, if you are falling for him, if you love him, if you're having sex with him, just know that the chances are really high that you're going to fall into the same pattern that he's already exhibited. That you and he are going to be intimate together. He's not going to use protection. I don't know what your protection is. And that it's just going to repeat the cycle. It's going to happen over and over and over. And honestly, I want you to believe this. Whatever he's doing with his children's mothers, whatever those children are getting or not getting, that's exactly what you're going to get or not get. He is not going to be different with you. It's not going to be, roses and sunshine with you. And yet, he doesn't see any of the other kids. He doesn't talk to them on the phone and please don't fall for he says the mother keeps the children away. He says the mother is difficult and hard to deal with, and she makes it impossible for him to see his children, and she took him to court for child support, but doesn't let him see his children. Please don't fall for that. That's like the oldest story in the book. Please don't. And don't let, your infatuation of him have you believing. There are two sides to every story. And honestly, I try to get both. I try to get both sides. A man, comes to me. I take him at face value, but I also, take it with a grain of salt. That I don't know the mother. I don't know her. And until I can kind of see her or see how she moves or hear how she moves, I'm like, okay. I take it all with a grain of salt, and I encourage you to do the same. Please don't fall into this, oh my gosh, she's so awful. Oh my gosh, she's so crazy. Oh, she keeping the child from you. Until you witness that for yourself, okay, that's your response. Really? Because we need both sides of this story. But please beware. Beware. I have dated, that was the one man that I dated that had the 5 children with the 5 different women. And when I say dated, I mean went out on dates for a total of 5 weeks, 6 weeks. I think that was from start to end, it was 6 weeks. Not my man, not my boyfriend, not someone I was considering in a serious way. Someone I went out with. And once the story fully came out, I was like, oh, no, thank you. Good luck, but this is not a situation that would ever be for me. I could never submit to your leadership. I couldn't. So please beware of that. If he has a child and that child has one mother, and let's say they were never married, again, something you want to explore. You want to explore what happened there. What was the nature of their relationship? Was it an exclusive and committed relationship? How long was the relationship? What was he considering her for marriage? You want to find out all this information. And then if he has multiple children by multiple women, you want to find that out. I have dated a man who was married more than once. He had children with his first wife. He had a child with his third wife. So his children were born in marriage. And that's the closest I've ever come to dating a man with, multiple children by multiple women. So children with the first wife, a child with the third wife. That was the closest I've come. And that, kind of pushed me to my limit, because I was like, okay, but this is definitely something that you're going to have to sit down with yourself, and you're going to have a hard conversation with yourself. What are the caveats and nuances of this? And what would that look like for you? And you have to stick to it. So if you say, I'm not going to date a man with a child under 2, or I'm not going to date a man with more than 2 children by 2 different women, whatever that formula looks like for you, but you've got to stick to it. And here's the thing I'm going to tell you. As soon as you come up with it, you're going to be tested. You will be tested. That man will come along that appears great, that appears to be everything you could ever want, and he's going to be right outside of that standard. And the reason why that happens is your standards will be tested. That's how we'll know if you're going to hold them. We need to know if you're going to hold those standards. So they're going to be tested. It happens to me all the time. I have put on my list, I am not interested in dating a man with minor children because right now my children are 18 and 21. I'm interested in dating a man whose children are 18 at the youngest and up because we have more in common. We're in a similar stage of life. So I am interested in dating men with children 18 and up. And of course, great men have come along in the last 3 or 4 months. I have gone out on dates with amazing men. I have a 7-year-old. I have a 9-year-old. I have a 12-year-old. So again, I knew it would happen. I knew it would happen. I have I have a 7 and a 10-year-old. I knew it would happen because that's how standards work. They're going to get tested to see if you're going to keep your standards set. And of course, I had a conversation. I said, this is great. We have a lot in common. You seem really amazing. We have interesting conversation. However, I really, I'm looking to be a wife again. I'm looking to get married again. And one of the things I know for a fact that I don't want is, I'm an empty nester. I really don't want any young children. That's not something that I'm willing to do right now again in this season. I've done that. I've done that parenting season, and I'm really looking forward to, parenting young adults and, my children getting older and kind of making their way out into the world. I'm really not interested in being a stepmother to a 7-year-old or a 9-year-old or a 12-year-old. And the reason why I say that is because if this got serious, if we got engaged, if we got married, that is a responsibility I would have to take on. And you have to be honest with yourself about that. So if you're my age, if you're 45 and up and your children are grown, yeah, be honest with yourself about that. I'm not interested in dating a man with minor children. That can be your standard. If you are a single woman and you don't have any children and you'd like to meet a man and start a family together, I would prefer to meet a man with no children. And like I said, that standard is going to be tested. I'm telling you this because as plain as I'm sitting here, you're going to write that down and you're going to say, yeah, that's my standard. And 2 days later, you're going to be out. You're going to see the finest, tallest, best looking man with the greatest smile. And he's going to be saying everything you want to hear. And he's going to have a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old. So make your standard and keep it. You got to set it and keep it set. And you have to trust. It's all a mindset. I tell women this all the time. It's about what you believe. It's about a mindset. It's about an abundance mindset, not a scarcity mindset. It's about a belief you have that what you want exists. It's real and it's out there. But you must be patient. That's one of the feminine tenets. You must be patient. And you've got to set that standard and keep it set. And all you need to do is believe that it exists. I believe it exists. I believe there's a man out there my age and his children probably just graduated or maybe they're a little older than mine. We're probably kind of in the same boat. And we both like to do similar things. We're both divorced. We're both at a stage where, man, we've been divorced for a little while and our kids are leaving to go off to college and we're really considering, remarrying. He might be in the same boat as me. Man, it'd be nice to be remarried. It'd be nice to share a home. It'd be nice to travel and it'd be nice to have a partner here. My kids are off at school. That would be really nice. Yeah. I know that man exists. He's out there. And, it's just a matter of time before he finds me. So no, I don't need to settle with the guy who is amazing. He has great conversation. We have a lot of fun together. We have great, we do a lot of fun things together, but he has 2 younger children. I don't need to settle with him because again, what's going to happen is the newness of everything that's good about him is going to wear off. And those cons about him are going to become glaring. So I have made my standard. I'm going to keep it set. I continue to enjoy, dating and companionship with lots of men that I'm just getting to know. And it's good and it's friendly. And we've kind of just agreed that, okay, I get it. But, we enjoy hanging out. We enjoy doing things together. So let's keep doing that. And that's kind of where we are. The men I've met who have minor children is just an understanding that we have. When they don't have their kids, we do stuff. We have fun. We like to have a good time together. That's it. It is nothing more, nothing less. But they know that this really isn't going anywhere. It isn't going to that next level because my intention is to marry again one day. My intention is to be a wife again. And I don't see myself being a stepmother to younger children. I don't see myself actively parenting, younger children. That's not something, I want. And ladies, you have every right to say that. You have every right to want that. Don't let anybody shame you about that. Don't let anybody make you feel bad about that. I have come across some men who have attempted to kind of shame me about that. Oh, I can't believe you're going to let a man, like me pass you by because I have kids that are younger. Or, just because I have a 12-year-old and you're a mother, what kind of woman who's a mother doesn't want to date a man that has, children? I said, I don't have an issue with you being a father. I just don't want to be, I don't want to date a man who has minor children because I know that's a great responsibility. That's a great responsibility for him. And if we were to get serious and get married, it would then become a great responsibility for me. And again, I've lived that life. I've done that. And can I be honest? I don't ever plan on setting foot in another elementary, middle, or high school ever again. Like I'm good. If I never stepped into another school, elementary, middle, or high school, I'm good. University, sure. College, sure. But yeah, no. I don't ever want to go to another PTA meeting. I don't ever want to bake another, 5 dozen brownies. I don't ever want to do that. I'm good. That was an experience I had, and I'm good. So do not be shamed about that. If you're not interested in being a part of someone else's parenting journey because they're not as far along as you are, be honest with them and you. Be honest. I've always been honest with all the men, and I tell them, oh my gosh, you're so great. You're so amazing. However, you have younger children, and, that part of my journey is done. And, we're not the best fit for each other. That's it. And I'm not bad or wrong because I feel that way, and he's not bad or wrong for having younger children. He's doing what he's doing. But, The other thing I want you to consider, if you're a woman without children and you're dating a man who has a child or children, and this is going to be probably hard to hear, but I got to have this conversation with you ladies. You're not in competition with the child. Like, we're not even going there. You need to have enough maturity. You need to be a grown woman, and you need to recognize you are not in competition with a child. Okay, this minor child is not something for you to compete against and try to fight for time and all that other foolishness. His first responsibility, his God-given responsibility, is to his minor child. You're a grown woman. You hopefully have a car and a home and a job and everything you need to sustain yourself. That minor child can't do that. They can't drive to a job and work 40 hours and make enough money to sustain themselves. They are his responsibility. So if you're not at a place in your life where you can be okay with that without whining and complaining and moaning and, oh my gosh, you're with your kids every other weekend, stop it. Stop it. Stop. Don't make him feel bad. Don't make him feel wrong because he's not. He's doing exactly what he should be doing. spending time with his children. I know men who spend a week on, a week off. Like that's their 50-50 with their mother. They take a week, the mother takes a week. They take a week, the mother takes a week. If you don't want that, if that doesn't work for you, pass him by. Like that's the solution. The solution is not to make him feel bad or wrong or guilty. No, the solution is to leave him alone and find a man that doesn't have children. If you want to see him every week, day in and day out, if you want to go out in the middle of the week to eat wings and have a beer, and he's telling you, no, it's a school night, my kids are with me, find someone else. That's the solution. The solution is not to whine and moan and complain and try to beat him down into doing what you... No, you're wrong. You're wrong. Find a man without children. Because I'm a mother. I get it. I'm not going to make him feel bad for being a father, which is what he's supposed to be doing, and spending time with his children. And if he has a week on, a week off, God bless him. That's what he's supposed to be doing. And if he's financially taking care of those children, that's what he's supposed to be doing. And so let me say this, and then, your feelings can be hurt and you can hopefully get over it. You are dead wrong if you feel a way about a single father being a father. And you, especially if you're a single mother. I mean, you got 24 karat nerve if you have children and you have the audacity to be mad about, oh, he's over there with his son, or he has his son this weekend. He can't be here with us. So that's what he's supposed to be doing. And as long as he's not doing anything inappropriate with the mother or playing happy family with the mother, now we're not going to do that. You and the mother are not going to take the child to Chuck E. Cheese or to King's Dominion or any foolishness like that. But if he is, doing what he's responsibly supposed to be doing for his children, I mean, that's that. There's no way for you to feel about it. And you're a mother doing what you're supposed to be doing. So, you cannot feel any kind of way about that. And you cannot want him to be a father figure to your children, and he can't even be a father to his own children. What sense does that make? And it says something about you. Why would you want to keep him from the children that he's created? And again, if you can't handle that he has multiple children by multiple women, I mean, I can't, I'm not dealing with that, then leave him alone. That's going to be the answer every single time. Leave him alone. Or if you think, oh, this every other weekend thing is too much for me, I need more time, leave him alone. Leave him alone and find someone else who has no children, and you can spend all the time in the world with him. But the answer is not for you to moan and complain and to try to to guilt him and manipulate him into spending more time with you and your children, or spending more time with you. That's not the answer. The answer is to leave him alone and find a man who doesn't have any children. And if you come back with, well, Anita, that's really hard out here nowadays. All these men have kids and, oh, it's so hard. That's in your mind. That's your mindset. That's a whole nother conversation you and I have to have. So the first thing I got to tell you is stop saying that, because you're going to have exactly what you say. Like I said, I had friends when I was 30. Oh, you're not going to find a man who doesn't have children and y'all are going to settle down and get married. That's what you believe. So don't put your limiting beliefs over here. That's what you think is true. I don't believe that's true. And clearly I didn't, because that's not what I got. So you have to believe it. And if you don't, then you need to do what you need to do to believe it. But it is possible. All things are possible. So I'm done. I'm done with the hard part, which is you don't need to feel a way about a man that has children. You don't need to feel jealous of those children. You don't need to feel a way about the mother. You just need to get information. You need to get factual information about, what their current status is, how long they've been broken up, how long the relationship was, how the relationship ended. Has she moved on? You need to find out that factual information. But outside of that, if he's like, yeah, I'm above board, we've been apart for 3 years. I'm just financially responsible for my child. My child comes and visits every weekend or every other weekend or whatever, and I want to be a father to my child. That's a stand-up guy. And again, if you can't deal with it or if you don't like it, the solution is leave him alone. That's it. Leave him alone. Just leave him clean alone and find a man that's not in that situation. See, it's easy. It's not that hard. But I have had situations similar where I didn't like how it was set up. I didn't like how much time was being spent. And I was like, this isn't going to work for me. We're not a good fit. And that's even with me being a mother. I've dated another single father. He had 2 sons. He was divorced like me. And if I felt like, oh, wow, this is a whole lot of time being spent, there's very little time for us to do things together or build a relationship or what have you. Yeah, I just say that. I don't sit there and whine and complain and try to manipulate him into not seeing his children. I just say, it's not going to work out. We're not a good fit for each other. And the last thing I would ever want to do is change how you are as a father or, have you edit how you are. That's not for me to do. His God-given responsibility is to his children. Believe it. Okay. So, we're not doing that. You're going to let that pass. You're going to find something else that fits you and your lifestyle better or what you want better. Okay. But, we're not doing that. And if you are a woman, let me go here. If you are a woman that has a child or has children and you have the standard, oh, well, I want a man who doesn't have children. So now you've got to ask yourself, what can you give that's of equal measure, right? Because you can't even deliver the standard that you're asking for. So in all equity, in all fairness, what could you give him in return? So if you want a man who doesn't have children and you have children, what else might he want that you could give him in exchange? Because again, there's no equity there. It's not fair. You're not giving something that you wish to receive. So you really got to think about that. I want you to think about that mindset that you have that, oh, I have these 2 children, by my previous relationship, but the next man I meet, I don't want him to have any children. I don't want to be bogged down with that. And I don't want to be bogged down with the mother. Okay. I'm sure he may think that about you. Like, I don't want to be bogged down with the children. I don't want to be bogged down with the father. So let's be equitable here. If you can't offer him that in return, what else might you be able to offer? There must be some sort of compensatory thing going on here, right? So if I can offer a man youth and beauty and he can offer me financial security, see, that is equitable because he's saying, I know financial security is something you want, Anita. I may not have youth and beauty, but I have financial security. And then I say, and I know that youth and beauty is something that you want, and I may not be able to offer you financial security. So that's an even trade for us. So just something for you to think about. If you are a single mother and you've ever made the statement, oh, I don't want to date a man with children. Interesting. That's an interesting idea. And again, I'm not telling you can't say that or want that. That's for you to want. Okay. But I want you to understand that if you want to be fair and equitable, what could you give in exchange? What would that look like? All right. So those are some of my thoughts. They may not be my exhaustive thoughts because I'm sure there are lots of other nuances and caveats that I could add to. Please put your comments in the comment section because I'd be so curious to, hear your questions and your comments. Maybe I left something out. I think there are pros to dating a man with children, especially if you've been married, you're divorced, you have children yourself. I think that is a compatibility that single parents share. And I think that's important. I think it's important that single moms and single dads, they have that compatibility going on there. So I think that's a really good pro. I think it also tells you something about his character. Now, the cons, on the other hand, are, of course, the relationship with the mother, and if that is strained, the financial responsibility that he has to the children or his child, If he has multiple children by multiple different women, you know how I feel about that. I think that's, telling me something about his character. That for me personally, I could not do because he's not a respectable, healthy leader. There's something going on there that I can't fully respect. So, can't do it. And again, even if he's made 5 mistakes in a row, you're too slow. You're too slow a learner to, for me to be on your team. That's a risk I can't take. So there are some cons as well. There's the time commitment. There's the financial commitment. There's what's the situation with the mother? You've got some things going on there, and you do need to kind of flesh all that out. Ask questions about this early on. I do this with every man that I'm ever dating, and I am vetting. I'm asking questions, and it's so funny. Just the other day on a dating app, a man matched with me, and he told me he had been married and he was divorced. And I said, "Oh, really?" I said, "Have you just been married one time?" He said, "Yes." I said, Did you have any children from your marriage?" He said, "Yes, I have 7 children." And I was like, "Wow, okay." I said, "And how many of those children are under the age of 18? And he said 6. So that was an easy one. We didn't even make it past the app because, I got that information in a day. There's no need to go any further. I have no interest in being a stepmother to 6 children. No, 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 no. And again, people say to me, "Well, wow, you're jumping clean ahead. You're jumping to marriage. You're jumping to be a stepmom." Yes, because that's my intention. And I do jump ahead. That's why I make good decisions, because I jump ahead. I put myself in situations and say, wow, if this got serious, if we both were crazy about each other, if he proposed, if I said yes, I would be a stepmother to 6 minor children. And then I go, nope, not interested. And then I come back to this present day and I tell him that, no, thank you. We're not a good fit. My children are above the age of 18 and they're leaving for college. And, I'm kind of I'm in a good parenting stage of my life where, I'm kind of an empty nester. That's it. And that was that. He didn't seem offended, but that's the situation. I mean, he has 7 children and 6 of them are under 18. So maybe, I don't know who would be a good fit for him, but he might have problems with dating because of that situation. And maybe not. Maybe there's a woman out there that'd be fine with it. So if you have not gotten a copy of the new book, Choose Well, A Simple Formula to Determine the Best Man for You, there is a link in the description box so that you can be taken directly to Amazon and order your copy of this new book. Ladies, this is the blueprint. This is how you're going to create the blueprint when you're out here dating so that you don't make missteps. You don't continue to fall into these patterns and make these mistakes over and over and over. This is how you're going to do it. And as long as you follow your personal blueprint, you're going to be okay. And you know what? You can even add a layer of accountability by getting this book for a girlfriend, you and her reading it together, holding each other accountable. I have the women in my coaching program do that. They hold each other accountable to their standards. And, it helps. It helps when you have someone else that's also living by these principles and doing this work. It helps. You're not out there alone. So please head on over to Amazon, pick up a copy of my new book, Choose Well, A Simple Formula to Determine the Best Man for You today. I thank you so much for just continuing to support the platform. If you ever have a question or a comment, please consider emailing me at info@betterlovemovement.com. I would be more than happy to do a podcast episode based on your question. I love getting your questions on Instagram, Facebook. I love creating content around it and IG live videos around it. So please consider sending me your question or your comment. And thank you so much for all of your support. You can check out my coaching on betterlovemovement.com. Head on over there. All of the new products we have, the new t-shirts, and the coaching that I have over there. So check out betterlovemovement.com. Thank you so much, ladies, for listening. And as always, stay open to love. Thank you for listening to today's podcast episode. If you are enjoying this podcast, please leave me a 5-star rating and review. Your ratings and reviews help me to continue to bring you more great content. Head on over to YouTube and check out the Better Love Movement channel. There's more video content there, and you can subscribe to be notified when a new video is posted. If you have a question that you would like to have answered on the podcast or in a YouTube video, please send it to me at info@betterlovemovement.com. You can also connect with me directly on the Magnify app to have your dating and relationship questions answered. That's MAGNIFI, and it's available on iOS and Android. You get your first 5 minutes for free. So give me a call and let's chat.